All right, welcome to Coder Kids podcast, where we decrypt technology topics for parents who have children who are interested in tech. As always, I've got Jeff Ward with me over
Hello.
here. That's right. And I'm
Great
James
to be
Farnock.
here, James. Great to be here, as always.
hmm
Thanks for having me.
We're both now vaccinated, at least
Well,
the first shot.
yeah,
The first
single
shot.
dose. Yeah. Yeah. My arm hurts really bad. I was telling James that I'm feeling a little tired because of, well, I blame the COVID vaccine, but it could also just be lack of sleep.
I mean, I had both when I got the my shot, but it was this overwhelming sense of just like my strength had been sapped. So,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
2 days later, it was like nothing had happened. So,
And then you get to go through it again. I've heard
yeah,
that the
that'll be
COVID
fun.
vaccine is actually like they're talking about it being like an annual thing. So I'm not
Mm,
looking forward to that at all.
mm.
Like if they
It's a collective moan
let's
from
let's
all
not
the
get
people
into it.
listening. We're
Let's
not
not get
health
into it.
experts. We're going to talk about coding today. It'll be fun. I did order a button, okay, so that people know. And because if I'm like not wearing a mask someplace, this is kind of my happy medium where it's like, hey, I'm happy to wear a mask anywhere that's required. But if it's not required in this kind of transitionary period, I don't want to make anyone feel like weird. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna have a button that's like, yay, look, I'm good, I'm safe. I'm not gonna
And
give you
yeah.
Ebola.
That's a deep topic, James. I mean, I'm
Managing
sure
other
that
people's emotions. Oof, that's
some
tough.
people won't like your pin, but we'll leave that for another day. It's so sad to me that COVID has to be politicized. It's crazy the world we live in today. I think everyone could agree with that, but moving on. Uh,
So today the topic
that's
we
my
wanted.
personal. Sorry.
Well, yeah, and we just want everyone to be healthy and happy. I mean, that's our policy. However you want to do that, knock
Healthy
yourself
and
out.
happy.
We believe in CrossFit for Jeff and running for me. I was on the track today with my son, running around in loops. That's you got it. You got it. Good stuff. Good stuff, people. Okay, so the actual topic of the day, we have some summer camps we posted that we've not really done before. We want to dig into a little bit and then just talk about some other camps more generally. So we don't have a guest today. I know. But Jeff and I are pretty interesting. Come on. You've listened to us thus far. So we'll get into it.
I mean, I'm the
Jeff.
most interesting person in my life. James once had a podcast about himself. If you go back to episode number 1.
Oh my gosh. Oh, we're bringing that up. Oh, we're going back
All
in
right.
the
Well,
Wayback Machine.
let's dive into these. So we're excited about the summer. Look, obviously, a lot has. Whew, man, what a year! It was only a year ago that we had a bunch of signups for summer, and then everything came crashing down. We had to cancel pretty much all of our in-person summer camps. So if you do happen to be a Houston resident, that's, James is located in Houston, and we are offering a lot of Houston summer camps for, STEM topics, tech topics. If you are not in Houston and you like what we're putting out, or you like our attitude about education and coding and whatnot, then lots of virtual camps will be your best option. So lots of options on our website, coderkids.com. And we're hoping that this year is a good year. So
Yeah, and if you have a topic that's just burning that you want us to offer, shoot me an email, james@coderkids.com, and we'll see if I can accommodate you. I had a parent, I don't know if I should advertise this, call me today and want me to move a class time 30 minutes, and I moved it in that direction. And, because they're the first one to sign up, and they signed up both of their kids. So if you did that, you know who you are. Thank you. And, sometimes we're able to make small accommodations for you and help get you in the right places. And that is the benefit of kind of doing things a little bit on the early side, right? I can't do that stuff late. So
yeah, it's funny. The request for time changes in late May. too
Yeah, it's
late.
like,
I mean, if other parents have signed up, it's really too late at that point. So, James, I want to talk about the camp that I'm going to offer.
yeah.
This camp actually came up because we're working with a school in Fort Worth, and she was the person that I'm working with to set up these camps was like, a lot of our students are really interested in like building a website. And I was like, okay, well that's great. And I know a little bit about building websites, especially using things like Squarespace, and I've been looking at more into like Webflow and also just the basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that you need. And also, I guess the whole driver of this class. This class is called Web Design and SEO for Young Entrepreneurs. So I'll start with the first part, web design. As James knows, I am not like the quintessential web designer. Okay, I'm not like a professional web designer. So I mean web design in a very generic sense. Web design meaning like designing a website, creating a website. But again, if your child signs up for this class, then it's like the design is pretty much on them, right? I can give them my opinion. I'm really good at opinions.
And principles, I think, too.
Principles.
Balance and all of that stuff. I mean, we can give design principles, but sorry to interject, but
No,
I think
I don't wanna
a
just
lot
talk
of
to-
what Aaron talked about on our previous podcast was like, you can teach an artist like how to code, but it's like really, it's a lot harder to teach a coder like how to make good art and have like an eye for design and things that are refined like that. But if you do have an eye, then when you learn about these principles, it makes sense of what's already in your head. I think that's how Lara describes it.
Yeah. So again, I'm not a web designer, but I mean, I do think that I'm getting better every day, and designing an interesting app that I mentioned on the episode last time, working with a designer to do that. So anyway, so I know a little bit about it, but I'm not proposing that I'm like this is like a class for adults, right? This is an introductory web design class. But then the other interesting part of it is the SEO part, which I would say that I am a bit more of an expert in. SEO meaning, well, SEO stands for search engine optimization. So think about search engine. We're talking about Google optimization. Like, how can you optimize your website so that Google gives you the best optimal results for what you want your website to be? So, James, unless you want to interject, I have kind of an example that I'd like to offer.
No, just other than that, DuckDuckGo is another search engine if you care about your privacy.
It could be any search engine.
Right.
Okay?
I just thought that's my plug for DuckDuckGo and privacy. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
it has nothing to do with what you were going to say.
no, I think it's, I mean, there's something there for the future in terms of optimizing for other search providers. But for now, Google is, I don't know, 99% of search traffic or something.
It's top dog.
So anyway, so thinking about SEO and thinking about like websites and businesses. So if your child has an idea, then, and I think James, didn't you mow lawns when you were a kid?
I mowed lawns. I walked dogs. I did all kinds of stuff.
All right. So let's take the example of mowing lawns, because I mowed lawns when I was a kid. And probably in my busiest summer, when I was working by myself strictly, I probably got up to like 10 or 12 lawns that I would maintain. And I kind of got to thinking about it just the other day. Like, I was an entrepreneur when I was young, in my own little way. I was making good money. And actually, a lot of my friends would say, like, man, you work for 3 or 4 hours in the morning and take the rest of the day off. And, I work an 8-hour shift. And so they were a little bit jealous of the money that I was making. But then I got to thinking about it. Like, if I had known about, instead of just wasting my time playing StarCraft, if I would have gone out and built a website that was like Jeff Ward Lawn Care, Garland, Texas, and had started like building up a client portfolio, then theoretically I could have hired another employee to come and work for me, maybe another teenager or something. I could have maybe even like gotten a vehicle, like a vehicle that I was leasing out, and I'm just saying I could have scaled it a little bit bigger. I'm not saying I had to go huge, but what if I had taken from 12 lawns, I had a website and I had like contact information and all this stuff, and I actually took it to be like 100 lawns. And then at the end of the season or at the beginning of the next season, I actually just took those 100 lawns and like sold them off to a landscape provider, like a major business, and could have actually like scaled it and then sold it and made probably significant amounts of money. Or I could have just kept operating it through high school and kept building the business and maybe eventually sell it for like really large amounts of money. So this is kind of the driver behind this class, is kind of thinking like maybe your kid really likes designing custom fidget spinners. That's so like 4 years ago, right? But maybe they have some kind of special like art skill or design skill, and they're wondering like how to get it out to people beyond their high school or beyond their local neighborhood, and maybe they have a special product that is unique. This class is really for them. It's really for like figuring out how to think bigger than bigger than what most high schoolers would think about. So.
Yeah, and I will say, like, Elon Musk mentioned this at one point where he said that, if you're in college and, it doesn't cost that much to live and you only have got your food and rent, like, you can think big and test out ideas and fail, and it's not gonna kill you. You've not got a whole family that's needing to be supported at this point, know? Right. So there's an amount of flexibility that you can have, and just, you can have so much failure but not critical failure, right? It's like you can test and iterate designs and ideas while it's kind of low stakes. I mean, you're most like, if you're taking this class, you're most likely not supporting your family. I would hope not. But it allows the entrepreneurial journey to start earlier, because I had a few interactions with business, but working with coder kids, I know 2 years ago when it really came on, every day was just this huge learning opportunity. How do you write proper emails, and how do you do all this stuff? And if they get this experience earlier on, I mean, that's so vital in a kind of a low stakes environment. But there's still great like opportunities, like you're saying, like even selling a small business that can be really profitable. And I really feel like a lot of people graduate college. I just knew so many. I graduated in political science, right? So there's a lot of people who never really worked a day in their lives, to be honest. They wrote essays, and those essays I'm sure were great. But at the end of the day, it's like
work in its own way.
Yeah, it's like, but like, what work have you done? Like, have you, I worked at H-E-B for like 3 years, which is a grocery store in Texas. If you've never been to Texas, then you've never heard of the grocery store, but it's the best grocery store in the world. So, I sweat in the parking lot for like 8-hour days pushing carts around. Like,
right.
I learned about the minimum wage of $5.15 an hour or whatever. I think minimum I was paid was like $5.65, and my wage went up and whatever. And I did that very manual labor, and I learned the gas station kiosk, and then I learned how to be a checker, and I bagged groceries. Then I actually did janitorial like maintenance and stuff, and I mopped bathrooms, and I was like, this is great, and I was getting paid more and more, and I was getting more and more respect for the work I was doing. But I was also thinking like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So yeah. I was getting skills, and I was learning how to interact with people. But it's one step below entrepreneurial skills, where you can own your own labor and figure out different ideas. So anyway, that's my plug for what Jeff's doing.
And another thing too is that even if you don't have a service or a physical object that you're selling, there's even a lot of money just in content generation. So let's say that you have a child who is really into cryptocurrency or something. I mean, if you could just have your child, or if maybe your child already is, sitting down and writing something every week about cryptocurrency or whatever topic they want to write about, music or art, and they just make a blog about any kind of topic, then I can also show them kind of the SEO side of that and how to even generate like Amazon affiliate sales or other affiliate sales or advertisements through their website. So that's also another form of interesting entrepreneurship that hopefully we'll be able to kind of tackle all these different topics, but kind of expand the mind or expand the vision of what kids can achieve. So,
And
with
Jeff,
that,
do you want to really quick?
ahead.
Do you want to just go over the ages and the price? I mean, you
Yeah,
can see it on our website, but
yeah, it's going to be at the end of July, so it's like I think it's the week of July 28th or something. And it is 1:00 to 4:00 Central Time, I believe. And $150 for the week.
that's pretty good. That's a good deal. And
pretty,
we're talking
affordable.
6th grade to 12th grade. So
6th to 12th. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's not, I should also add that it's not like in the traditional style of a Coder Kids class where we have one instructor and 8 kids or something like that. And I'm really like building a deep relationship with the kids. I mean, I guess if we end up with 8 kids, then we'll go with that method. But what I'm hoping for is to just kind of get as many kids into this class as possible. And we'll kind of do a larger Zoom style conference room where, and maybe we'll use Discord, but kind of a larger conference room where we can, where it's less like kind of back and forth and like, did you understand that? And more just like me walking them through and like using chat function and things like that. So
step by step. Cool.
All right, James, you're up.
Yeah. So my pet project is more fun. Sorry, Jeff. Sorry.
Hey, making money. Making money's fun.
Yeah, but it can be. So it's called Levelhead Game Design, and we got official sanction from Butterscotch Shenanigans, the studio who actually makes this video game, Levelhead. And the ages on this one is grades 4 through 7. I do think we want to stick to those age brackets. There is going to be some complex thinking that we're going to be going through. It's like the rest of our classes. It's $165 for the week, and that is in July 26th through the 30th. So again, it's that same week. So we're fighting for that time slot. So if you've got a 6th or 7th grader, you can either have fun or learn how to make money, and not
whoever
both.
Gets the most signups is going to get the Lamborghini at the end of the summer, right?
Provided by Mr. Beast. So Levelhead, for the uninitiated, and that's most people, it's like if you've ever played Super Mario grown up, it's like that, but you get to make the level. That is the most simple explanation I could possibly give. The difference is the amount of things that you can do. You can add gems to collect. You can add, big gems, small gems. You can add enemies. The enemies you can turn into bosses. You can add all sorts of obstacles, spikes, and you can add all kinds of, there are 3 or 4 different artistic styles that you could choose with. You can go for a level that's insanely difficult or really easy and meant to go for speed. You can have it more like a puzzle feel. You can even create a pinball game in this. It's really crazy. But the whole purpose of this game, and I'll get into more of like what you can do in it, but the whole point of the game and of this class is to develop this logical framework of essentially you're writing a story. It's very similar to creative writing where you are trying to evoke a type of emotion. And if you listen to the podcast with Sam from Butterscotch Shenanigans, when he's making this and he's talking about level design, he's talking about you're designing for an experience. Do you want the player who is playing your level to be, scared when you drop the player down? Do you want them to be spooked? Do you want them to feel intrigued? Do you want them to feel like they're going really fast and that sense of accomplishment? And you can design a level to kind of evoke those different feelings. And that kind of mindset that our surroundings influence how we feel is like a huge thing that a lot of adults never really grasp. And so in learning to design for these different emotions and these different states of being, they're going to creatively problem solve. Additionally, so that's the point of it, is to really flex those creative muscles and like problem solve, because they will run into problems, I promise you. If your kid is not running into problems, then you sign up for the wrong camp, and like they're not actually in it. Now
James, let me just butt in for a second.
Go for it. Yeah.
And say that, from a non-gamer perspective, I find Levelhead to be, it's sad that I call myself a non-gamer. I mean, I do game, but I'm really bad at the type of game like Levelhead, where it requires a lot of like finger dexterity and things.
And precision.
We kind of talked about this before. But Sam from Butterscotch Shenanigans is a great episode to listen to if you're interested in this but don't really understand anything about Levelhead. And then also, like, James has posted a video, and I think it's on your personal channel, if I'm not mistaken, where or it might be on the Coder Kids channel, but wherever it is.
Yeah.
If you just go to YouTube and like look up like Levelhead, insane Levelhead beats. Anyway, people do some incredible stuff on Levelhead, both from the creative side, like James is talking about, and also from the problem solving side, like he's also talking about. But you're going to create these awesome levels, and then your friends are going to go through and try to solve them. And it can just be extremely challenging, sometimes frustrating, but also just like, I think something to be really like proud of, and something that can also really engage your kid in a new type of gaming. So,
yeah. And this particular game is very skill focused. So the proper level design is design that makes you feel like if you died, it was actually your fault. And there are a lot of games like mobile games and like match 3 games that the purpose of the game is just to get you addicted, so you like just keep forking over money. And that is not the purpose of this game. It's like to get better. And so you can design, if you're an absolute beginner, you can design a pretty simple level and get familiar with it easier and easier and easier, like over time. So you can make that learning curve steep or flat or whatever you want, because you're designing your own levels. But one of the things we haven't super talked about that I think is huge, and this is something you can't do in like a similar game like Super Mario Maker, which is you can have up to 4 players designing the same level at the same time. So, we're going to have competitions too, to like see which team of students can make the, quote unquote better level. And we're going to be kind of going for a similar style. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to do a level that's like full of flames, and it's got to have like 5 platforms and 2 enemies, and you can do it in whatever orientation you want. And we have 15 minutes, ready, set, go. And then people are going to go crazy, and there's going to be platforms, flying up everywhere. And then people are going to put enemies and whatever. But it allows not only this creative problem solving, but like working in a team, kind of what you might do in an office, right? Where you have to say, well, you have to argue like, well, I think the flame should go here and not in this square over here. And you have to state your reason. And so there's a little bit of that like communication and goal setting and a little bit of tension. And that's fine because it's in this safe environment. Like nobody's salary is on the line. Nobody, there's no work politics here. And then at the end of the
Well,
day,
yeah.
we're having fun. So
Yeah, and let me just jump in too and say that anyway, I just think the collaboration side is really interesting. But on another piece of it is that when we sometimes sit down with kids and we're teaching them Scratch, or I guess I'm thinking primarily of Scratch, and we kind of teach them the basics, and then we're like, all right, let's create this game, and it's like a game where you have to like things are shooting at you and you have to avoid them. A lot of times kids just like have this initial desire to kind of like break it, I guess you could say, or like
yeah.
just make it like completely crazy and insane where like no one can ever beat the level, and then you like click the green flag and you try to play it and you just like instantly die and they like laugh at you. I think the great thing it's great to expose your kids to something like this Levelhead class, because it kind of teaches them like that there's like you need to be deliberate in your design of these things. So like in a Scratch game, if you're trying to avoid getting shot, then you start it out slow and then it gets faster and it gets faster and faster and faster until it gets to be like impossible to win. Kind of like a Flappy Bird type thing where it gets harder and harder and harder as you go. But it's their initial, a lot of times their initial nature to just say like, oh, I'm just gonna throw some stuff together. But if you're doing that in Levelhead, then your level is not going to be very fun for others. And then also, if you're doing it in a collaborative setting, then you're going to learn pretty quickly, like, oh, people don't like it when I just throw random stuff up.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting lesson, but it's important. It's an important lesson for design.
I do think we'll probably get it out of the system early on and be like, all right, guys, make whatever you want. Go crazy with flamethrowers and stuff and just let them do whatever. And then once they play their level and like they have a good laugh, like, cause like that's part of the process is to make it a little bit silly. And then they say like, okay, yeah, I think I've got this out of my system. And then we'll start with a new fresh level and, then we'll design for a specific thing, So there is space for silliness and there's space to be serious. And then there's going to be some collaborative and competitive elements to the class. And I think I've about beat the horse dead.
Well, I was just going to say, going back to my previous point though, you can, if your child is familiar with Scratch and has done some Scratch, for example, and then does this week with Levelhead, I think it'll teach them some lessons that they can then take back to Scratch and maybe even other game platforms that they use in the future, if they get into Game Maker Studio or something like that. So anyway,
you might call them cross-platform skills.
Cross-platform skills.
You should put that in the description, right. James. Cross-platform skills. Yeah, no, it's really, if you're thinking about designing an experience, which is what Aaron talked about on the user experience design, podcast we did. It's like that's what game design is in an aspect, and you use that in Scratch, and you use that for any application that you build, whether it's Python, C++, or Scratch or whatever. You're designing either a solution or you're designing something that is going to be used by someone, and then you have to think about what does that person want to accomplish, and how do I make sure that number one, that it works, and number two, that they understand like what is happening. So awesome. Cool. Well, sign up for that one. I will be teaching that one personally. My cousin's already signed up. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be a blast. So
no one is signed up for my class. Well, actually, someone from that Fort Worth school that I was mentioning earlier is signed up for it. So I'm sure we'll get there.
Yep.
But yeah. So,
let's talk about some of our other classes. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do a quick overview.
Yeah. Well, we can dive into it kind of as an overview.
Yeah, I'd say let's start with categories. Right. So we've got coding classes. Hello. We're coder kids, right? Of course. We've got gaming classes, and we've got digital arts classes. Do you want to tackle the definitions
Yeah.
behind that? I mean, generally.
Yeah, let me talk about coding a little bit. I'm just going to use, and I would recommend if you're still listening and you're interested in signing your kid up, use the filters on our website, on our registration website. So you'll go to filters, and then it'll drop down, and there's one that says coding. So if you're interested in coding, then definitely take a look at that. We'll start with the young kids classes. Options for the really little ones is the Scratch Junior coding class. We offer that for kids who are entering first or second grade. Scratch Junior is an excellent platform. It provides a great introduction into Scratch, but it's really designed for those little ones. We have a few Scratch. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that the age recommendation is pretty solid, unless you have a kindergartner that can switch between apps and share their screen and swap between apps all without you there. If they can do all of that, they can do our Scratch Junior classes, but typically we find that is a huge kind of hurdle for them, even though they may intellectually understand some of the concepts.
Right.
The computer use skills aren't quite there yet. And I would say that even if you practice those just a little bit, to show them how to switch an app, if you're on a Windows, it's Alt Tab, and if you're on a Mac, it's that special Mac button and then Tab. That's a nice skill. Get them to use a mouse. A lot of them are used to touch screens, right? So these things will help classes go smoother, generally speaking. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, we'll keep these descriptions kind of brief.
Super brief.
Because there's going to be more talking about it later. But just to add on to what James said, I have a child entering kindergarten myself, and maybe in person it would be different, but for a virtual class, I just think that it's going to be hard to hold someone's attention when they haven't been to any school. I think he's been to preschool, but you know what I mean. Anyway, up next we have game design and Scratch, and we have a bunch of different categories for it. So we've got super powered, which is our new theme for the summer, which apparently is still listed as be the hero in some places. So we should probably modify that. But it's called super powered, kind of a superhero theme. And then we also have a few other Scratch classes that are, they're older, but your child might not have experienced them yet. So Outer Space, Wild West, Castles and Dragons.
Yeah. There's a different one that's Music Maker, and that one's actually not just thematically different, but functionally different on the inside. It just focuses a little bit more on music. And the thing about Scratch classes is they all build upon each other. So, you can take up to 5 of these, right? I think typically after probably a maximum of 3, I think a child has really gotten a lot of usefulness out of it. Certainly after 4, and if you take all 5 of ours, the usefulness starts to decrease after a certain number of them. And that's when we start recommending our other older classes. One of those is a game design in Roblox. And that one is, I would say, like half gaming and half coding, or you might say half game design and half coding class. And you're designing levels, and oftentimes the level itself doesn't require code. But if you want the level to do anything, then it does. So, if there's lava in your level, that doesn't do anything. But if you put a kill block or kill code in the lava, then obviously the level will become dangerous in the level. So to create these levels doesn't require any code, but to really make them good and playable games, it does. And this is actually typed out code, so it takes a little bit more patience than we typically find in 3rd graders. So we start 4th grade typically through 6th grade.
Well, James, I will say that for every single one of these ones that we're talking about, we're spending more time talking about it than we had talked about taking.
Yep.
We love talking about these classes.
We love them.
Look, there's actually a lot to digest here, but
Yeah.
let's just go through them really quickly. So
Surface level. I'm doing.
mine,
For those of
yeah.
you listening to the podcast, I'm just like putting my hand above an imaginary ocean.
Look, the best thing for you to do is visit our website, register.coderkids.com, and just check out the different options. We've got Python classes, JavaScript. We have Java class this summer. We've got a C++ class this summer. We also have an Android app design. So obviously, we're not talking about the iPhone. We're talking about any Android device, creating an app for that. We've got a Minecraft modding class. We've got advanced games in Scratch. So there's a lot of things that you can pick from. If you have any questions, click the little blue button in the bottom right of our website, or just shoot us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to kind of guide you and help you to pick the best class for your kid.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into gaming.
Let's talk about gaming. But James, you got to keep it. You got to keep it surface level.
I got it. So what I say is the purpose behind gaming camps is number one, to have fun, make friends. And one of the best educational benefits to these is you get to really practice education. And in every one of the gaming camps, you get to practice leadership skills. And we'll leave it at that. If you're interested, we'll talk about it more later. But that is the point of them. So we got Minecraft,
Roblox, Fortnite.
I think that's
Minecraft
it.
Advanced.
Oh, and Levelhead. Hello.
Levelhead. Well, I'm looking at the website right now. So we've got Fortnite Creative and Fortnite Leadership, which are leadership is more like battle royale kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the the creative workshop is just like Levelhead, you're creating your own games, and you can create all sorts of games. We'll leave it at that. Battle royale is like just playing the battle royale method, accomplishing goals, doing all that. So that's the kind of difference between those.
We do have one Blizzard Game Camp, which is for kids who like Overwatch, particularly.
Yeah.
All right, and then lastly, we've got some digital arts classes. This is actually where my class kind of fits in, the web design and SEO for young entrepreneurs. We also have a drawing 101 class, which drawing is a prerequisite skill for animation. Digital animation, which is going to be different from drawing 101. And then
YouTube 101 as well.
YouTube 101, yep.
So YouTube 101 really is film 101, right? So you're talking about storyboarding, editing video, uploading video, taking the right shots, how to shoot video with a phone or on a computer. So that's kind of what that one is.
And so,
does that about do it?
Lots of fun stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about everything. I think that there is, again, just to reiterate, it's still March. So if you have like guys, we're going to be, traveling this week, but we really want to do it, shoot us an email. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
The schedule is still pretty flexible. So
yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks for sticking with us. We super appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments or concerns or quandaries or whatever, send us an email, info@coderkids, james@coderkids.com. Those both work. Also, please, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And sign up for our camps if you can. And I would always say this, camps are more fun with friends, promise. So it really helps with the online environment if there's already some sort of connection there. If there's not, that's fine. We'll foster that in the digital classroom and the physical classrooms that we have in person in Houston. But it's always better with friends. So
awesome. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Till next time.